to work with many of the leading artists in the EDM space. I want to talk today a little bit about why having the right tools for when opportunity strikes is so crucial. But just to give you a little bit of background about me, and I think this will help you guys understand where I'm coming from a lot, is that I started in electronic music in Australia in the 2010s. I was in a duo. We were touring, doing a lot of sort of festivals and club circuits. And during this time, I found a young guy in MySpace who I saw he had a lot of talent and a lot of potential. So I decided to bring him into the studio and mentored him, taught him how to use Ableton, all this kind of stuff. And he went on to have a really successful music career. His name is Harley Stretton. Some of you guys might know him as Flume. He went on to start make a revolution in Australian electronic music, and he became such a global leader in his space. And he at the time had a side project called What So Not. Now, What So Not and Flume, basically, they were making really cool music, and they hit me up and asked me if I wanted to mix their first EP down. And yeah, I said sure. I had a pair of really cool speakers at the time, and I think that contributed to them wanting to hit me up, and I had some skills, I guess, and being their friend and all that kind of thing. So I said, sure, yeah, let's go. From then, one of the songs that I mixed for the EP ended up becoming quite iconic. The song was called Jaguar, and it went on to be, and it kind of was one of the leading sort of trap, future-based type songs at the time. And I heard that people like Skrillex and stuff were using it to reference their mixes and whatnot, and that gave me a lot of confidence to start mixing for other people. So fast forward a few years, I worked on Harley's album Skin a little bit, and he got nominated for a Grammy. The album got nominated for a Grammy. I went with him to LA to do the Grammys kind of thing, and quite often during that whole 2 weeks, I'd end up meeting with producers and other artists that I had met online but not in person yet, and we ended up catching up either in hotel lobbies, in living rooms and stuff, and those hangouts became impromptu sessions. And those impromptu sessions, one of the things that always frustrated me at the time was I didn't have my own studio with me, and so I felt like we were having a bit of fun, but it didn't feel like I was really giving the full studio experience at the time. So anyways, fast forward a little bit further, I ended up working with an artist called Jaws, which led me to work with Marshmello, and I also through working with these guys, I remember I was working on Jaws' album. I mixed and mastered the whole thing, and I'd actually worked on all of it in Sydney in Australia at my studio. But again, I went to LA when I delivered the final masters, and I thought the job was done. And he hit me up and was like, yo, I need to make some changes to a couple of songs. And I started freaking out because I didn't, again, have my studio with me. So this led me down a path of wanting to figure a solution for how do I have good sound on the road. I have, you can have headphones and use laptop speakers or different studios, but it's not quite the same as having a pair of monitors and being in an environment you're familiar with. So I hit up a friend of mine in Australia. He's got a store called Sounds Easy, which is really awesome. And I get literally all my studio gear from him. And I said, hey, Matt, what do you have for me to use on the road? And he showed me these brand new IK Multimedia MTM speakers, one of these bad boys, and I bought it. So I paid for it myself, and I was like, yo, this is amazing. It was the first time I'd heard any speaker of that size that could actually reproduce 808 and low end sounds, and to me that was freaking amazing. So I bought a pair of these, and over the course of, since I had them until the pandemic started, I traveled through to Japan, to South Korea, to LA a couple of times, and every time I'd go there, I'd chuck these in my backpack or in my suitcase, and I'd be able to get set up straight away anywhere I went. It was freaking awesome. So I got a lot more work done than I usually would. Normally when I travel, I try and tell people I don't really do that much work, and it's always been a hindrance for me. So yeah, those speakers, they've got this microphone which it comes with and lets you tune the speakers to the room. So I'd be in a hotel in Kyoto, and within 15 minutes I've got a fairly reasonable balanced sounding room, which is, it's just crazy. If you've come from when I started making music to now and having a portable solution, that sounds freaking awesome. It's dope. So anyways, all of that stuff led me to work on bigger stuff. I ended up also working with Skrillex, which was great. And recently I've been mainly focusing on my own artist project, and like I've been doing my own splice packs and things like that. So I just want to take a moment to really appreciate how cool these speakers are. Like, if you haven't seen them in person, they're pretty small, and I have no idea how they can reproduce low end like this. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So anyways, yeah, these are my babies. I love them. Thank you. So I'm going to show you guys today a couple of little things. So we're going to switch over to my computer in a moment, once I can pull something up. And I'm just going to pull up a little YouTube screen on my phone so I can see what's going on in the chat. But basically, I wanted to show you guys a track that I started on the MTMs when I was traveling. I was in LA at my friend's house, and you know, and I was hit up by the manager and an artist called Cray, and I was told that she's looking for someone to work on her EP and stuff, and I started chatting with Cray, and she hit me up at about let's see, I'm just going to put this little screen on here. So she hit me up at about 8 in the morning one day and said, hey, I've got this a cappella from a track and I just couldn't quite get it sounding the way that I wanted to with a producer. So I got the a cappella. I literally just hopped on, had my MTM set up in the side of the room, and I started making a beat. And within 30 minutes of making the beat, I was like so inspired. I just turboed through the whole thing. I sent her the track. She loved it, and she hit me up and she was like, yo, let's work on the whole EP. So this actually gave me a whole new project and a source of revenue just by being available when the opportunity was there. And this seems to be like a repeating theme in my life and in my work. You just gotta, like, when you have the right tools to kick ass when things are ready, you know, it's all up to you then. So anyway, so what I want to show you guys is I've got this whole project file here. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can. Basically, this is the very first version of the song that I saved at about 9 a.m. that day. And if I actually go down here, down the bottom here, where the mouse is and this long track is, I have the final version. So what I want to do is kind of maybe let you guys hear a little bit of the original version and a little bit of the final version, and get a feel for just how well the IKs let me produce a song idea and how clean it was, and how effective it was at letting me do an idea which I then took and completed. So I'm just going to see. So there's literally nothing on the master. This was just the original. Let me see if I can hear it.
I cry red tears on the floor looking for me. Your hair in my hands, eating your hide for dinner. I love the taste, but I love mine more. I choke my hands all around, but I love the sound. I spit for air, haunting. I am the blessing and the curse.
So that's the original, and I'll play more of it later. But so this is the final master that went out to Spotify.
I cry red tears on the floor looking for me. Your hair in my hands, eating your hide for dinner. I love the taste, but I love mine more. I choke my hands all around.
As you can hear, like, it's pretty much the same song. The low end and the kick hit a bit differently. I made a different choice of kick, I think, and I made the low end a lot subbier, etc. I'm not using T-Rax or Mixbox at the moment. I got given a copy of Mixbox to play with by the lovely people at IK, and I've just started incorporating it into my workflow. I usually take a fair bit of time to take something on board. It takes me quite a while to really add new tools to my workflow, just because I've got a sound. And I think Mixbox, the thing that I like about it is it kind of gives me a little bit my analog feel, because I've got a really dope studio with a lot of analog gear, but you can only use one at a time. So with Mixbox, you know, I can use a lot of different tools at the same time, but I haven't actually fully incorporated it into my workflow just yet. With T-Rax, I use the clipper sometimes. I find that's pretty clean. I like that a lot. Yeah. Hope that answers that. I'm going to play a little bit more of this song, so I'll go back and forth. I don't know if you can see clearly, but when I solo this channel here, that's going to the Spotify version. I'll just play just before the chorus or the drop and after the drop. Mastered version. As you can see, I produced the drop. It sounds almost identical, like on the little MTMs, and it sounds fantastic. And the final master version sounds like very close, and everybody was like stoked with it. So yeah, kudos to the team. So I'll go through the session a little bit just to show you guys what I did. So I had there's like a little Metro Boomin pack that they gave out for free at some point. I had that kick. Yeah, just a really like crunchy sort of snare. I had this little sound which I quite liked at the end of phrases. That little thing kind of, it makes your head sort of like, I don't know, like kind of glitch a little bit. If you have a listen here.
I cry red tears on the floor looking for me. Your hair in my hands eating your hide.
Had a little tambo, which I ran through echo mode and this delay to make it. So this is what the original tambo sounded like. I'll show you. And once I ran it through the effects, yeah, it's pretty cool. For the main bass, I think this is the main bass. I was trying to get through doing the idea really quickly, so I ended up just, I think it was just a basic serum patch. Let me even load up the patch so you can also see. That is a single saw wave. Could not get any more basic than that, with a bit of EQ, reverb, distortion, and EQ. So I'll show you what it sounds like without all this stuff here. With it on. Has a little bit more depth and just sounds like not like it's a raw saw wave. What else we got here? We got these little... Yeah, these chords are cool. And then I had... And the last sound in that breakdown so together with the vocal, that whole section sounds like this.
Screaming and screaming, fire could destroy me, but you're too weak.
And the last thing that I changed was in the drop, I brought some extra percussion sounds and this little bell sound. So the percussion I had was from my sample pack. And then this sound over here. It felt very much like a, I don't know, kind of like the end titles of a movie or something like that, but had a little bit of an uneasy feeling around the bass. So yeah, so anyways, all these sounds made it to the final version. This is the final version that was mastered. I actually remember when I got back to Sydney after, so for the people who've joined in a little bit later, so I made the original demo of this song on the IK MTMs in my friend's basically guest bedroom in LA. And when I went to Sydney, I started fiddling with the track. And after quite a while, I was going around in circles. I actually ended up going back to the original demo that I'd made with the MTMs and kind of tweaking that slightly, because there's something about capturing that original idea that I always loved, and the idea that I got with that first demo was perfect. Just needed a little bit of tweaking. What would I like to see IK Multimedia make? I would love to see them do some really highly out there algorithmic sort of effects. So I'm personally a fan of things like FFT kind of effects, granular effects, and stuff like that. Stuff that's a little bit out of the analog world to complement, you know, the analog stuff that they do would be really cool. I love things that are very, very granular-y in their nature. Things that kind of that do things that you can't do with hardware, essentially, is probably the best way to describe it. Things that take advantage of the fact that you're using a computer as a platform to work on music. That's what I would love to see more of. Let me know if you have any other questions, everybody. The most noticeable difference is I actually really love the mid-range on the MTMs, but for me, like, it makes me use too much mid-range because it's really pleasing. I've always found mid-range the hardest to deal with out of most frequencies, in the sense that if you get that right, your whole track sounds right for some reason. You know, it's the thing that our ears are most attuned to. I think it's because it's like where your human voice frequencies come from, etc. So with the MTMs, I found that I'd be able to make an 808 and kick, and it hit pretty closely on, it was kind of scarishly close on my studio mains. Like, I've got a $20,000 monitoring system in my main room here. And to be able to go from the MTMs to them and hear that low end and everything hit right is like crazy. But the only thing that I found was that I was like dialing in the mid-range a little bit too much. But that was just like a personal thing. And I think probably over the last like year now that I've had them quite a while, you know, it's become a little bit easier to deal with that because I know them, and maybe it's just how I tune that particular room for the first time. Yeah. I use Tadu. I use both analog and plugins. So quite often, if I use a software synth, I will process it through analog hardware, and try to get some sort of analoginess out of it. But sometimes I don't want it. I want it to sound synthetic or metallic or very computery. But then I've got a bunch of synths. I'll see if I can just kind of tilt the camera without messing everything up. So I've got a bunch of synths over there, which I've got like a Moog. I've got a Novation Peak, which is like a hybrid analog. It's like a digital oscillator synth with analog filters and analog distortion. All my 808s are generally handmade, so most of the 808s that I use in my own music I've actually put out of my sample packs, which you can check out on Splice. But I use plugins to make most of my 808s, and sometimes I'll run them through hardware to get a little bit of extra grit. I've got a whole bunch of different distortion boxes to complement things. So yeah, so that's kind of like the best of both worlds that way. Oh yeah, one other thing that I got is a hardware drum machine, which has been freaking awesome. Let me grab it real quick. Actually, it's stuck on there, but it's the little IK sort of box that they did. It's pretty cool. I should say that, like, you know, I used it on a couple of my sounds in a sample pack, and yeah, I just love using analog drums. Any other questions? By the way, just quickly, I'd love to know what you guys are doing, what sort of music you guys make, because I've always been interested in, you know, the people that sort of come and check out the stuff that I do and get in streams and chats. Yeah, let me know. Are you guys looking to do electronic music? Because obviously I'm, you know, doing EDM and you came to this stream. Yeah, I'd love to know a bit more about you guys too. Just looking at some of these questions here. So, okay, for the most recent, like, Well, I've actually gone back to a factory recently, especially because I lent my main speakers to my friend Blank, who's another Australian producer. So I've actually had to borrow an extra set of these because Blank won't give them back because he loves them so much. He came back to Australia and was stuck in hotel quarantine, and he borrowed mine. Ooh, I haven't checked out the new synth line yet. I've been told about it. It's meant to be freaking awesome. Let me pull it up. Hang on, I'm just going to go back to this little screen here. Yeah, I run audio only, no talking demos. I run the drum machine through a Sherman filter bank, which is crazy cool. I also run it through, I've got an analog heat, which I just literally got back from repair today. So I run it through that, and I've got a whole bunch of different boxes. And one other thing I run the drum machine through is I've got an Otto bit from Mary's, an Otto bit Junior. So I really like crushing drums and getting snares and claps to have a little bit of a grit texture going. Oh yeah, but I just remembered the synth that you guys were talking about. It's called the Uno or something like that. Yeah, that thing. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm like a synth freak deep down. Like I've had like Nordleys, I have JP8000, had Juno 106, had like Virus, had an Alesis Andromeda, got a Prophet 8 out there, got the Peak, got the Moog, had a couple of other Moogs as well. So the IK Uno Synth Pro looks freaking dope. I can't wait to get a hold of it. Yeah, so to do, that's crazy. I actually started out in metal, and I always wanted to be in bands, but I found it really hard to, I don't know, maybe I'm just a bit of a weirdo, and I found it hard to work with other band people or get them to be reliable, come to sessions and jams. And then I found that you can make music without other people using computers. So I actually started off, like I was listening to like heaps of industrial and metal and death metal, and then sort of got into all the prog metal sort of stuff, and then got literally into Sasha and Oakenfold and, you know, like the Northern Exposure stuff and the Global Underground compilations. They were like the things that really transformed my taste in music. I just read, wow, one of the creators of the Andromeda, Eric, worked on the Uno synth. Can you please tell Eric that I'm here and I'd like to be his friend? Thanks. Yeah, cool. Burnt Oak, just looking at your story there. So, acoustic guitar, bass, rock mostly, but ready to work on adding some electronic elements. That's really cool. I reckon some of the plugins that IK have would be really cool. I think there's lots of tools out there, even like third-party stuff like Omnisphere and all this kind of stuff would be really complimentary for you. I would love to hear what you do down the track, you know, with your stuff. Ben C. Yes, that is Steve Duda's signature. He actually has a thing that he wrote. He says, for tech support, bang head on wall. He's a good friend of mine, and I'm very blessed that he came here and signed my wall. Arlo, I'm going to get the Uno synth because I need something else to keep me from finishing songs as well, so... Stizzed, absolutely. I find my metal roots influence my electronic tracks. Like last night, even I was making a song which was kind of like a pop EDM type of track, but I wanted the outro to be a little bit more interesting, and so I added. It was kind of like doing normal minor stuff, but I added some melodic minor stuff or Phrygian type notes in there to give it a little bit of a different flavor, and it still fit in. And that's something that I wouldn't have done probably if I didn't come from like that background. Last night I was thinking about Opeth, funnily enough, you know, and thinking about stuff that they would do. I also find that when I'm working on things, I'll try and humanize my stuff the way that a real band would. So like when I'm making drums, I actually think about how a real drummer wouldn't be able to really hit more than 4 things at a time, you know, just due to the limb limitations. So I try to keep things, you know, in that realm. And then when I'm, say, writing a like a piano line, I'll move individual notes and I'll add little embellishments. Even though I'm not a piano player, the way that a guitarist would, but to a piano line. So all these things, they're all valuable skills. And if you have skills in one area, and you're lucky enough to have, you know, kept that, use it in other places. It's what will make you sound unique. It's what will make you sound different to somebody who's, you know, just making like basic sort of stuff. You know, definitely use your roots. And the thing is, even if you're making like pop music, everybody's got stuff. Like I hear people who make pop music. Like there's a group called Take a Day Trip. I think that's their name. They're a duo. They made a couple of the Lil Nas X tracks, and they also made what's her name? Sheck Wez's big song. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But the Sheck Wez song, they used and referenced Nirvana's In Bloom from memory to inspire that. And I think they ended up paying royalties for it. But that's the thing. You get your influences from other places. It's how well you hide them and reinterpret them that makes what you do unique. Yes, get my splice packs. Everybody, go to Splice right now and get my splice packs. I've got Secret Sauce 1 and Secret Sauce 2. Secret Sauce 2 has lots of cool kicks. It's got all these like dope robotic stabs that I use. And I've actually been using that drum pack almost exclusively most of my tracks lately. Yo, Mobamba Honties, how you doing? Yo. Honties comes on my Discord channel. By the way, if anybody wants to join my Discord, come and send me a reply to one of my tweets or hit me up on Twitter. I'll give you a private invite. It's like an invite-only group of really just cool producers and people who are either pushing the boundaries or they want to push their boundaries. And you guys all seem super cool. So come and hit me up on socials. I'll give you a private link to join and come and hang out with me and Hontis and a few other homies. Psytrance is cool. I used to listen to a lot of Infected Mushroom. I also grew up on a lot of the sort of industrial stuff that influenced Psytrance. For example, KMFDM and, you know, that sort of stuff. And I remember like even like really old Nine Inch Nails, like the industrial nature of it is really connected to Psy. And I used to hang out and party with some homies who used to go to what we call in Australia bush doofs, and I don't know if that's what you guys call them there in America. But yeah, basically, Psytrance has been a huge part of my sonic signature. I think everybody can agree that their drums and bass lines hit so hard, and yeah, I really retain that. Yes. Any last questions, anybody? Hey, E-Putty, how you doing? Doof. Yep, that's an Australian thing. Oh, thanks, Ben C. That's awesome. Cheers. Yeah, so I've got some analog compression. So I've got a Serpent Audio. It's like an SSL clone, but it's got a dry wet knob and a few other things, which let me control the sound a bit more. So I use that. I've got an Alicia character and an Envelope 500. One thing I use quite a lot is I've actually got a cassette deck, like a professional one, and it's got a bit of a cool history. I bought it from somebody who was selling a lot of equipment that was used in a police station, and so they used to record interviews with like murderers and stuff on cassette on this deck. So anyways, it's got a little pitch knob, and when I'll sample a sound from my computer to the cassette and it like play with the pitch knob to make it have some wow and flutter, and then I'll sample it back into the computer. Hey Libya, how you doing, Malik? Nice to meet you. Cool. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you all got something out of this. Again, just want to let you know that I literally bought these from my own money. I really believe in them. They're great tools. If you need a great speaker, if you can't afford like a high-end speaker, these are really good for general studio use. But if you're on also traveling, these are freaking amazing. So thank you, IK Multimedia. Thank you guys for joining my stream. Have a great time and good luck with the new year, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cheers, mate. Have a happy NAMM. Bye.